Hello, welcome to Fibro Warrior, my new normal. I'm MJ Aragon, and I'm here with my producers, Jojo Merricks and Tony Jeffries.
Hey,
What's up?
Today we're going to share a fellow warrior's journey, and her name is Catherine Rivera, as well as touch on our new Facebook page. So, because I finally started my blog, so I put out my first blog earlier this week. Yay! And basically introductory, just talking about, why I began this journey and why I am doing the podcast, which I spoke on before. But on the Facebook page, it has the same name, Fibro Warrior, my new normal. And I will be posting all of our podcasts as well as my blog post and the vlog that we will be recording later on today. And so the podcast will be weekly, the blog will be bi-weekly, and the vlog will be once a month. So you can find all of that on our new Facebook page. And so, yes, I'm excited. I'm hoping that, once we get a few people on there, that it will gain some traction, and then maybe more people will listen in.
Absolutely. Right. We want to hear from you guys.
Yes.
Everything.
So I'm very happy to say that I had someone share their journey. There will be, the reason that we have some people submitting their journey and some people actually coming in is because a lot of people are all over the world. They're in different countries and different states, and so they obviously couldn't be here. So I had them submit their journey, and I'm going to read it for you. So today I'm reading Catherine's. It says, my name is Catherine Rivera. I've worked since I was 17 years old. My stepdad abandoned us and his own 8-year-old daughter, so I became responsible for providing for my 2 sisters and my mom, which was a lot for such a young girl. I had aches when I was younger that the doctor said were growing pains. The first time I noticed my aches and pains was when I was 40 years old on my second marriage. I was happy and lived in the country in a 2-story home, which was my dream home. I worked at a pathology laboratory as a medical transcriptionist for 20 years. It was a 45-minute drive to my work, and at the end of the day, another 45 to an hour, depending on how the traffic was. Then I had to cook, do some chores, and prepare for the next day of work. When I started noticing the pains and fatigue, I felt like I had done an aerobic workout and had overdone it. It was hard to move my body, and that went on for 3 years until the pain wouldn't let me sleep. I was really scared and thought I had bone cancer or multiple sclerosis. I visited a rheumatologist for the first time. There is where he told me I thought I had fibromyalgia, which I even didn't know what it was. He told me to look it up on the internet to see if the symptoms were similar to mine. He took some tests, and they all came back negative, so I had fibromyalgia. I still wasn't convinced and went to another doctor to get a second opinion, which came out with the same diagnosis. I had fibromyalgia, no cure, forever, and with no explanation of why I had it. At first, I didn't want to take any medications, but as time went by, the pain became too much. The doctor told me to take Neurontin, 300 milligrams, not to keep suffering, and take some medications. Things started to get worse for me. I had to be absent from my job various times. Some mornings I couldn't get up. I would force my body to get up, and I'd put on my happy face. I really got to hate that. My fibromyalgia worsened to the point I'd get to my office and cry. My rheumatologist had just added more medications. I was now taking 600 milligrams 3 times a day, plus Cymbalta, 60 milligrams, plus my high blood pressure medications. By this time, I knew I had to have help from a psychiatrist. I couldn't handle the depression, the pain, and the responsibilities of my job. So he took me off work for 2 weeks. The rheumatologist wanted to take me off for 6 months, but I said, let's try 2 weeks, like the psychiatrist had suggested. I thought that in 2 weeks I would feel better. But 2 weeks passed, and I still wasn't better. So the rheumatologist took me out for 2 months. At one point, the rheumatologist told me, sell your house or find a job near your home because the drive is killing you. It was 45 minutes in traffic, so I sold my house and bought one closer to our jobs. My husband was very supportive in everything that had to do with my fibromyalgia. And I would even say he's the only one who's seen me at my worst. He told me to stay home. I just couldn't work anymore. That was one of the hardest decisions I have ever made in my life. I was used to working, and now I was going to be a housewife. At first, it was okay. If I had pain, I could sit, lay down, or do anything to alleviate my pain. My marriage suffered because fibromyalgia is a destroyer and it takes everything away. But even then, he keeps helping me as always when it has to do with providing me with everything like my home and health. We're like best friends. The most I have suffered is that I miss the me I used to be, the girl that everyone loved, happy, the social life. All I have now is pain and loneliness. That's what hurts the most. I've lost a lot of friends, but thanks to the internet and the support groups that I'm a member of, I have new friends and ones that understand what I go through because even if they have other illnesses, they get me. I have made great ones that when I'm down, they message me to lift my spirits. When I'm down, but I have to get up again. I want to thank MJ for what she's doing and the crew that works with her for spreading awareness of fibromyalgia. I love you, MJ. Thank you. Thanks to those Fibro warriors who make the best of their lives, even in pain. Sending love to everyone. So that was Catherine's journey. Thank you so much, Catherine, for sharing that with us. I really think it's important that I share other people's stories, not just mine, because we all deal with different things. And I think that the more journeys that I'm able to share, the more that I can reach out to you and you will feel a connection and know that you definitely are not alone in this, that we all are dealing with a lot of things connected to this disease and are going through depression and pain and migraines. And I mean, the list is intense and long and the reason that we tend to hide away from everything is because we know or think that no one else could possibly know how we're feeling or understand how we're feeling. And we don't think we can identify with anyone, so we tend to hide away and keep it hidden from our friends and family and put the big smile on our face and wear our makeup and say everything's fine when deep down it really isn't. And so now, you get to come here and listen and realize that, there's so many others going through this with you. And, we are here to support each other. And, if you need to reach out or you need anything, send me a message and I will get back to you as soon as I can. And I mentioned before a wonderful fibromyalgia page called Dear Fibromyalgia Q&A. If you want to join that, that's a great group. Everyone asks a lot of questions and tries to provide you the best answers they can because all of the people on that page are experiencing the things you are. So if you want to check that out, please do. I also want to talk a little bit about hypervigilance. Excuse me for a second.
Yeah, definitely going to have to Google that and tell me what that means.
I hate this anxiety. Wow. I just get so tense. All right. I found this I was doing research as usual, and I came across this. It's called Hypervigilance and Fibromyalgia. What is it? By Adrienne Delwu, I believe. I'm not going to read it in its entirety, but I'm going to read a good part of it so you can get an idea what it is. And then I will let you know what the site is that I got it from. And so it says, hypervigilance is a state of being constantly tense, on guard, and exceptionally aware of your environment. A small but growing body of research suggests that hypervigilance is a feature of fibromyalgia and may contribute to the common symptoms of sensory overload. The idea is that our brains become overly aware of things, which can include painful stimuli, noises, bright lights, and general activity. That could explain why our bodies react so painfully to a sensation that most people wouldn't experience as painful, called allodynia, as well as why we're sensitive to noise, light, chaotic environments, and more. With hypervigilance, not only do you notice things more readily, you're likely to be unable to divert your attention from them when something is beeping in the other room. You'll notice it right away, be highly distracted by it, and probably become agitated if it doesn't go away. The hypervigilance experience is a human brain experience. The human brain perceives a lot of information about our environments that we're never consciously aware of. There are too many signals bombarding our brains at any one time, so there's a filtering process Things considered unimportant are filtered out, and we're never cognizant of them. Anything that your brain considers a threat, however, gets extra attention. This can be a highly personalized response depending on what your brain has learned is a danger. So let's see, scroll down a little bit because it's pretty lengthy. Let's see. So while hypervigilance is normal in certain situations, it's not healthy to spend too long in a hypervigilant state. Police officers and soldiers in combat zones often do, which is what puts them at risk for PTSD. Hypervigilance can disrupt sleep, can cause avoidance behaviors, and make you jumpy and anxious. Being on alert all the time is exhausting. It can make you irritable and prone to outbursts. Panic attacks are definitely possible. Hypervigilance is an aspect of illness and not an illness itself. If you believe hypervigilance is a problem for you, talk to your doctor about it. They may help shape the direction of your treatment. It's a good idea to remove yourself from situations or environments that ramp up your hypervigilance. However, if this leads to isolation or avoidance behaviors, you may benefit from counseling. While you may feel hopeless at times, remember that with time and effort, hypervigilance can be overcome. So that's not all of it, but that's most of it. And I found this on www.verywell.com, hypervigilance with fibromyalgia. Her name once again was, Adrienne Delwo. That's Dellwo is her last name. So, you can basically find this definition anywhere, but I did like her little article, so I thought I should share it. I deal with hypervigilance. Someone walks in a room, it doesn't matter how quiet, how noisy, if they tiptoed, if I just suddenly see them out of the blue, it doesn't matter. I will instantly jump. I'll feel like my heart just popped out of my chest. It's not that you necessarily scared me. It's just because I'm so focused on whatever I'm doing that I'm so unaware of things around me. And I'm so used to being alone and where it's quiet so that if someone walks in the room, I'm instantly shocked or surprised. And I also have a lot of anxiety. So I completely relate to that. And I think that this is something that occurs with a lot of us that we don't realize what it is. And so I just thought I'd share that, and maybe that might help you understand what you're experiencing.
Maybe a diagnosis, huh?
It's not necessarily.
I mean, just somebody's
yeah,
like, what is this? What's going on?
Yeah.
Sounds like PTSD too.
I think it's very similar.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a question. Mm-hmm. It said, well, you said when you read it, it's not the disease itself. It's the symptom of the disease. Is that physical trauma? That
would be my guess. Okay, so they're not 100% sure why we have fibromyalgia. The thought process is we probably had trauma at some point in our life, usually at a young age, but throughout life, excuse me, all these bodily noises I'm making.
It happens.
And so it's either from a trauma, something that's happened as a child. It could be various things, physical, mental abuse, things of that nature. It could be something that happened later on in life, a great loss of a loved one, or a traumatic car accident, or things along that nature. Something very traumatic. Sometimes traumatic surgery. People end up with fibromyalgia. The other thing that they say it can be connected to, and they both seem very likely. It's really hard to decide. I mean, I really can't say I think one is more likely than the other because I had both things going on. So I'm a little unsure, but they both seem very likely. The other thing is possibly a virus, or from getting really sick. If you've ever really, really been sick as a kid, or whatever, that it comes from that. I don't remember the type of virus they explained that it might be, but they have some new. I was looking into it because I've tried quite a few fibromyalgia medications, and of course everybody's different. Everybody has a different body chemistry, etc. So what works for one person doesn't work for another, and I've struck out quite a few times. I did try Lyrica. Lyrica worked wonderfully, but I gained 28 pounds in less than 6 months. Gabapentin, as soon as I started taking it, it was terrible. Everything was swelling. I remember we went on vacation to New York. It was just a quick vacation, like 3 days or 4 days or something. And in the middle of it, I had to stay home. From just walking that little bit, my whole lower half of my body was completely swollen.
Really?
Yeah, so I had to spend one whole day in bed. I couldn't do anything. And Bill actually stayed with me for most of the day, such a sweetheart. He stayed with me in bed.
Was that New York City?
Yeah, that's
Can
when
you
we
say
went to
what
New York. We were in Manhattan.
Did you
This
say
was
you lived
last year?
there?
No, this was 4 years ago, probably about 4 years ago.
You never lived there, right?
When I was a kid, we lived in New York for a little while.
Right, I thought you
Yeah,
told me that
yeah.
before, right? Okay.
So, Gabby Penton, I instantly was like, okay, as soon as we get back, I'm getting off of this. And that was terrible. And I didn't even really do that much walking. And so then we went to Lyrica. And like I said, Lyrica worked wonderfully. It took away a lot of my pain. Never 100%, but a great deal of it. But nobody wants, we're already dealing with so much. You don't want to add weight to it, especially because I have arthritis. And before I even knew I had rheumatoid, I knew I had osteo. And my joints and everything are so beat up from all the activity and working out and weightlifting and, all the sports I played. I pretty much put my body through the ringer. So any extra weight was really painful. It added so much more pain. So having that extra weight on me, I wanted to complain, but I didn't say anything. And when I went into the doctor to get my regular checkup, he noticed, right? He goes, oh my God, you gained, he goes, we got to get you off this right away. And I'm like, oh, thank you for saying something. I didn't want to complain about that because I have so many other things that are more important. Mm-hmm. So he got me off that and put me on Savella. And I've been on Savella I've been off and on because we had lost insurance. So I have to pay out of my pocket. Sometimes we couldn't afford it because it was tough for a while. So off and on for probably 3 years, I've been taking Savella. It works the best for me. I think that I'm very stubborn. I will only take the minimal amount of medication to feel better. Like I don't keep increasing my pain medication because I'm feeling a little extra pain. I pretty much push myself to the limit until I can't take it, and then I will increase my medication. I really don't want to feel like a zombie by any means. And of course, the more medication, the higher the dose, the more possibilities of side effects and whatnot. So I really would like to avoid that. So I take as little as possible. So Savella has been very helpful. I take meloxicam for my joints, which is extremely helpful. Bill even takes that. Remember I told you guys, yeah, remember I told you guys how when I walk around, if it wasn't for meloxicam, when I walk around, it'd be, popping, like snap, crackle, pop. And so Bill and I both take that, and it's wonderful. I know not everyone can take it, but I'm very thankful for it.
Let me ask you another question.
Yes.
It was saying if you're having symptoms or prolonged hypervigilant, see a shrink. And then you were saying it's a type of trauma that induces fibromyalgia, which
kind of like
leads you
PTSD. Yes.
that leads you to the hypervigilance. So have you seen a shrink, or do you know of anyone having see a shrink and that helped fibro?
I have tried in the past twice, I think, in the past when I lost my husband. I tried. And it's kind of like the one I saw back then is kind of like, and although she's sweet, it's like they show you on TV where like, yeah, and how do you feel about that kind of thing? That to me is not helpful. I don't find in any way that's helpful.
Right.
So, although I saw her a couple times and I was hoping I'd feel better, it didn't change anything. I finally asked to see, after I got my Adderall, because I have ADHD, it's of course another cause from fibromyalgia, was my brain fog is just through the roof, and I'm even struggling now, and I'm taking it. The days when I don't take it, it's usually because I have nowhere to go or nothing to do, so I don't need to, so I won't take that every day. But I definitely need it if I'm trying to get something done, because my brain, I think of 20 things I need to do, and I can only do one, but I can't decide which one. So I'm fighting with myself. Okay, what do I do? What do I do? So this really helps me focus and decide on something and get things done. So it helps me a lot. But when I went to him, he asked me, did I want to see someone? I was like, yes, I would. I'd like to see someone, because I hadn't seen anyone besides that one lady, and that was years and years ago. That was like 15 years ago.
I've been wanting to ask you that since the first show about therapy. Had you gone to therapy?
Yeah,
And
recently, very recently.
Really?
Started going, a few months.
Okay, so had you been before, like in your entire life?
Have I
To
what?
therapy? Had you been in your
That's
entire
what
life
that's what you
before?
just asked me. I went to see that one lady, and
Okay,
it was
that
like
was
TV.
me.
It was like, how do you feel about that? I didn't feel like she was helping me in any way. It was very, unproductive.
That's the recent one?
No, that was the
That was
one
before.
from way back when. Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, just thinking about that, like, is the one better that you went to recently?
Okay, the one that I'm going to now, she's amazing. It feels more like, and I don't know if this is good or bad, but to me, this works. I feel like I'm talking to my girlfriend.
Right.
Like she makes me feel very comfortable. She adds things to it. She doesn't just let me talk and she says things like, well, it's because of this. And she's really helped me sort out through a lot of things because she does interact with me instead of just saying, how do you feel about that? She gives me her input. Now, that doesn't mean that everything she thinks is right and everything I'm feeling is right, because we all have our own feelings about things, but she does help me sort through them, which is amazing, because when I leave, I do feel like I've taken some of the baggage
weight.
that I'm carrying around
Right.
with me off a little bit each day. And, and when I'm having bad days, she understands and she's patient with me, and I couldn't be more thankful. So yes, I think that if you have hypervigilance and are dealing with anxiety and all these things, really, it's good to talk to somebody, because feeling alone all by itself is a good reason to talk to somebody.
Right, and the reason for that question was, what if you compare the feeling of the weight being lifted off? What gives you more relief, doing the podcast or going to therapy? What's more therapeutic?
I'd have to say this is more therapeutic, because knowing that I may be helping at least one other person,
Right.
Hopefully more, but if I could just help one other person, like Catherine, for example, she's so thankful,
Right.
And
You're welcome too,
that
Catherine.
warms my heart. Seriously.
Right. Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say, and that's why people
Yeah.
need to send more stories, you know.
So this definitely it helps me to know that I'm helping someone else.
Right.
So yeah, but not to take away from what I'm
the
getting from my therapy.
right, definitely.
Because she's wonderful, and she does, and I tend to do this thing, and I think a lot of us do that have fibromyalgia. You tend to, even though you're feeling crappy, you act like how I'm sounding. I don't sound like I feel bad. It's a tendency that we want to put on the happy face and be happy, and so people don't feel. And I notice that when I'm feeling bad, as soon as I see someone else, like, I instantly turn into that, hi, how you doing? And I don't even realize I do it until like later I'll notice that I'm doing it.
You're more drained.
And I'm
It
so
drains you more.
unaware.
Right. Does it drain you? It's more draining too, isn't it?
Yes. But I don't even realize I'm doing it. It's just a natural instinct to not show how
You know
how
what
I
it
feel.
is? You know what I think it is? Because I'm the same way. It's you know that people depend on your energy so much and your spirit to help them out. Like, we used to work at, should I say the place we do not name? Me and Tony used to work at the same place, and I was this person in that place. I was always in a good mood. People were always laughing. They see me, and it's like, whenever they saw me, it's like, dang, now I gotta be that dude again. It's like, I feel like crap today.
Right.
You know how many
But
times I had
they-
to hear that? I had to hear that conversation
Right.
from him.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Because he can tell you, he can't tell everyone else.
Right,
Because
yeah,
you're his friend.
Right, but I mean,
Yeah.
we were even roommates for a couple years, so he got to know the real me and see
Mm-hmm.
the things I really go through. But it's like these people at work, they don't. When I show up, they're like, "Oh, I expect this guy to come lighten up my day," and it's like
You know what? They may not even expect that. Really, it's just that's our mindset. We
Yeah,
think
yeah,
that
yeah,
we have to be
exactly.
on all the time for other
Right.
people, and we put that extra thing on top of our feelings and realize, okay, I have to be happy because I don't want this person to be disappointed.
Right.
You know.
But then again, you're helping other people out.
Yes.
Because you probably listen to people's problems and try to help them out, but it's like you just become that person, and it's like, dude,
Yeah.
not today, but you got to do it.
But that's the thing. I don't even think about
Doing
it.
It just
It
happens.
just happens.
Yeah, it just happens
And I'll
automatically.
realize it afterwards. Like, I'll go into the doctor, and I'm always happy to see the girls because they're all so wonderful. The two receptionists are so sweet. I love them to death. And then they're sweet to me, and then I go in and see her, and she's super sweet. And just, they put me in a good mood already because they're sweet back to me. But I notice that I'm instantly that way. Like, I'm instantly the happy, sweet MJ. And even as bad as I may feel that day, as soon as I open that door and I know I'm going to see other people, the switch just goes on, and
Right.
and then as soon as when I'm leaving the office, that's when I realize I did it again. I did
Now,
it again.
see,
I had that
that-
happy MJ, even though I felt terrible. I felt
Yeah.
so terrible last week. Terrible. I was in so much pain. But instantly when I walked in that door, it's like, ta-da,
Now that right there, it just made me think of a different question I want to ask you now. Because you do that, now I think I have a similar issue doing that, but when other people see you do that, and then you finally tell them, I have fibro, I'm in so much pain, I'm going through this,
They're in
and that.
shock.
And they're like, no, I don't believe you, because every time I see you, I'm getting this person that now I think is really you.
And I explain. When I do tell people about my fibro, I explain that That's something that I do because I don't want to bring other people down. That's a big part of it. Is I feel like my whole life I've let people down because I can't always be there or I can't always be on time, and I really hung on to that, and it tortured me and ate me up throughout my life, and I couldn't explain. Once again, and I couldn't tell anybody because I didn't know what it was, and you can't explain that to people. And I don't want people looking at me like, oh, you're just making it up, or you're a hypochondriac, or you're crazy, or because you don't know what people are going to think. Because people, of course, it's sad, but a lot of people think the worst, And so I just kept it to myself, and I just kept putting the smile on and just, fought through it all. But yeah, you get to a point where it's an instantaneous thing. Like, okay, I don't want them to see how bad I feel. So, but, the things like being late or not being able to go to when people ask you to go out or be on time, or, you miss out on family events or friends events or weddings and birthdays and births, what I mean? You miss out on those things and you feel awful. It just tears you up inside, but sometimes you just can't. You just have to stay home. You have to do you. You have to put yourself first sometimes. And on those days, even though I know I have to, you feel awful. You feel awful that you can do it. And I've had to learn to understand that that's just something that I have to be okay with, and others have to be okay with. And if they're not, then they're not really my friends. If they can't understand that I'm dealing with the illness, that maybe they don't understand the illness itself, but they should understand that I'm dealing with something and this is how I deal with it. So, of course we all hope for that. A lot of people don't have that. It's unfortunate. There's a lot of people out there that have this illness and they have no one. So, that's why this is important,
Right.
doing this podcast. So
I think we got a little off track
Yeah.
with our questions, but I want to ask you, since you've definitely experienced that, because I think hypovigilance happens to a lot of people that may not even have fibro.
yeah, it's hyper
Vigilant.
Yeah.
Can you give us like a brief kind of walkthrough of how you go from you to hypervigilance?
Well, for example, and Bill kind of makes fun of me, when we go to restaurants and whatnot, I try to sit somewhere where my back isn't to a bunch of people, like so I can see everything, because I do get startled easily. So I like to sit either in a booth, a tall booth, where I feel protected, or in chairs. I like to be at the end of the room, like somewhere where I can see out and see everyone else. That really helps me a lot. Like I said, I could be in the kitchen washing dishes, and someone will walk in the room very quietly, or leave, or even just say hello, and it doesn't have to be hi. How you doing? It could just be hi, just a hi, and I will,
Wow.
I would just jump out of my skin, and it's not scared. It's not necessarily you're scared. You just get the startled because you're so involved and everything's so peaceful and quiet that sound or that sudden person walking in the room just catches you off guard, and that's a big thing that I deal with a lot, and people have made fun of me for, and I didn't realize what it was because I know I wasn't scared because I'm like, I love scary movies and scary rides and going to haunted house. I know that that's not the issue. It's definitely the startled, the surprise effect. That when you're completely unexpecting, you're not expecting anything.
Right.
When you go into a haunted house, you're expecting to be scared, I'm not, whatever. But when you're quiet, the room is so quiet and someone just walks in, it's unexpected. So it really startles me.
No, it makes me think of autism. I had somebody explain it to me about the autistic kids where whatever they're into, like this like that's what they're into. And everything else around them kind of goes away. So talking to them, trying to interact with them doesn't matter until they get off of that, and that's kind of like hypervigilant.
That similar because I think they're very pinpoint focused.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm focused on what I'm doing and I'm aware of my environment, but I think I'm alone.
Right.
So that's why someone walking in the room catches me off guard. Whereas they're always like that, no matter if there's other people in the room or not. They're very focused. It doesn't matter how many people in the room. They are focused. If you touch them, and things like my mom used to work with some kids that had autism and stuff, and she said you can touch them or catch something because they would.
They don't even know you're there.
Well, they would get very upset, and they don't want to be touched. A lot of them don't like to be hugged or give eye contact. But I don't know a lot lot about it, but just little bits and pieces.
Now, it seems like these are kind of starting to overlap a little bit with these symptoms and stuff.
So anyway, Thank you again, Catherine, for allowing me to share your journey. And anyone
Yes,
else,
thank you.
please, please, please submit your story. I would
Submit
love to share it.
stories.
And of course, I love having guests. So anybody in the area, in California, from, I don't know, Menifee, Marietta, Temecula, all the way to San Diego, if you don't mind the drive. I mean, if you're in the area and you want to come be on the podcast, hit me up. I will definitely love to have you. Once again, no editing here. You get to hear all the noise and all my mistakes and stumbles. So I just want to say, thank you all so much for listening, liking and sharing our podcast. Check out our Facebook page, Fibro Warrior, My New Normal, as well. And once again, remember, you are not alone. I love y'all.